Hi family. I wanted to record a quick episode on how this channel got its name. First of all, you should know that I spent countless hours, because that's what I do, research the hell out of everything, and had tons and tons and tons of possible names and wrote them all down. I'd be, driving, and I'd have a little electronic notepad and write them all down. Anyway, I went through this whole process, and finally one day I walked into my therapist's office. I had started seeing him again. We have an ongoing, decades-long relationship, on again, off again, depending on what the hell is going on in my world and the world at large. Anyway, I walked in and I said, it was right after a significant event happened in our country. And I sat down in front of him and I said, just medicate me. It is not all me. You are not going to convince me that it's all me. He started laughing and he got it, right? So it's important to me. There have been a couple of other spaces that I've carved out for women in recovery. And I have made it a mission to stay solution focused. And that is so hard to do. I have not done it well at times in my life. And the only time I ever experience any kind of real, true growth is when I do that. Years ago, I had a sponsor in my recovery program. God, I fell in love with her. She took me 5 months to get one because nobody was going to tell me what to do. And I sat in on a Wednesday night meeting and met her for the first time. And after I listened to her speak, I marched right up to her and said, "You are going to be my sponsor." I'm so glad she said yes. She was just, oh my God, she was one hell of a woman. Very hard life. Was in recovery for a really long time at that point. I don't know, 30 years, I think. Really, really hardcore, but gentle, soft, deep soul that I connected with immediately. And she was, truly among my greatest teachers. And we had a couple of moments in time, like the time that I was just so done with working the steps. And I said to her, and she brought up in a humorous fashion, like she would always do, but I wasn't in a humorous mood. She brought up the self-pity thing, and I said, listen, I put my hands on my hips, just like a kid, and I said, I will sit on that pity pot for as long as I want, but I will flush when I'm done. She just lost it. And it was hell for all I know. Its stories are still going on in the rooms of recovery, with that being one of them. And another time, she leans over and gently puts her hand on my knee and she says, "Deb, we just need to work a little bit on tact." And I've just accepted that tact has really never been a part of who I am, because I've always been like just such a fierce advocate, which can really bring out the hard edges, which is why I need to focus on recovery related ideas, techniques, tips that work for me and I've seen work for others. So I've gone the long way around sharing that I am going to insist and will do everything I possibly can to nurture a positive, uplifting, safe, always safe community in my YouTube channel. I have no issue blocking and deleting someone who is hateful and spiteful. I am in the last chapter of my life, and I may not know a lot, but there are some things I do know, and that's one of them. Is I just don't have time for that kind of person. That is not someone who is working on being the best version of herself, himself. It's just not someone doing that. And so since that is the case, they have every right to be that way, but there are tons of other channels where they can go and just puke out. Basically, that's what it seems to me to be. Puke out all this garbage and this negative stuff that just builds on itself. I mean, just like that saying, we are what we eat. We are who we choose to be in a tribe of, who we choose to make our community. That has been a lifelong lesson for me, and one that has brought great suffering and pain, and one that I'm still working. As a matter of fact, this channel is, I think, going to be a wonderful avenue to that, to find, because there are so many empaths, the wounded walking, right? There's so many of us, and there's so many wounded healers, and that's who we have become, is we can share our journey and what's worked for us. And I mean, if we're not here to be of service to others, then what the hell are we here for? Anyway, so when I said to my therapist that morning, just medicate me, all of a sudden it hit me square across the face. That is the name of the channel, if it's available on YouTube. And I just knew it would be. I mean, somehow, right? It was like it was divine providence or something. So that's how this channel got its name. And as I've evolved it over the last few months, because as of this recording, it's only been a few months. And I think this maybe will be my 30th video. It's evolving, and I'm getting better at it. And I'm also like realizing that I need to make these playlists, because the one thing I can offer almost without question, is that I'm pretty good at meditation, that meditative voice, which is kind of funny, because I think to myself, those that can't do teach. Although I have gotten better at it, but I am able to do that. That was something I did for well over a year, I think like a year and a half, in an international women's recovery group. I hosted Sunday morning meetings, and it was the first one to my knowledge that we started off the main part of the meeting with a minute's meditation, so 60 seconds, and the shares on the meetings were always so phenomenal. And I just know it was because we got into that place of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it doesn't take, like, we always think it's going to take a long, long time, and it doesn't. I mean, these meditations that I'm doing and putting in a playlist for meditations are like, I don't know, 6 and 7 and 8 minutes maybe. So, and then there's, of course, estrangement and alienation is just an ever-growing, it's just so tragic and sad. But it's important to me that I remain solution-oriented, and I could not have done that before. It's not possible. The edges were so hard, and there was such rage and anger at all the lost time, and sometimes there still is. I've come to this arc in my journey where I just wish them all well. I mean, along with it is great sadness. You know, that is a given. But I just want them all to be happy and well and at peace. That's kind of where I want to stay, in keeping in mind and understanding that everybody is at their own stage, and they're almost always grandmothers, grandfathers too, but grandmothers in particular, who are suffering, just deeply, deeply suffering. It's the only way I've ever been able to describe it, I think, with any accuracy, is we come loose from our bearings. I mean, the identity is just shattered. It really is. As I go along with this channel, and I'm hoping that any subscribers will give me their thoughts and feedback and ideas. That's the whole idea. I want to build this community of unconditionally loving and supportive and kind human beings. I don't think that's too difficult to do. It's an adventure. We're going to find out. So that's how my channel got its name. I think it's a really cool name. Thanks so much for stopping by. And if you've subscribed or hit that bell thing, you're supposed to hit a bell thing and it gives you notifications of new episodes. Made comments. I mean, anything you're doing to support me and this channel, because it still is weird. I mean, as of this episode, there are, I think, 132 subscribers. So that's cool. Like in a few months. That's awesome. Thanks. And thanks for being here. And remember to be good to you today.